What's one thing guys resent about marriage, especially after there's been broken trust? We'll discuss that on this video, as well as how to rebuild trust on a budget.
We'll see you in there.
Going back to the stated values versus lived values, one thing I want to just kind of point out is it doesn't necessarily take much. It does take something. It takes, like, healthy relationships take, I think, daily maintenance. I know a lot of people have heard relationships be compared to gardens, or people being compared to gardens. It needs daily interaction. You can start to see if your tomatoes are wilting if you check it daily. You can start to see if there's an invasive pest that has moved in if you check it daily and treat things daily. That can keep your whole garden from being ruined. But it does take daily maintenance. And the unfortunate thing is, it seems like a lot of the guys we work with, or many of the guys we work with, almost resent that. It's almost like, no, I was supposed to go to college, graduate, get married, get a job, work, climb the corporate ladder. And now I'm climbing the corporate ladder. So it's like, check, 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 check. Put her on the shelf now, and that's it, and maybe not that much. Some of the guys want her to entertain him, or to do for him, so she's got an active role. But I remember our counselor telling Jay, she's not a machine. You don't just like crank her up and get her running and she just will keep running and running and running. You have to daily interact with her. And because Jay was one of those guys who, I don't know that you outright resented it. It never came out, but I can kind of tell you were like, I didn't know it took this much.
Oh, yeah.
I always thought of it as being an extension of the dating relationship, which was so easy. We were just dating and it was fun. It was this voluntary activity where we chose to spend time together because we liked it. I had seriously entered marriage believing it would simply be a continuation of that with a new label, failing to calculate for what happens when you share homes and resources and children and all the things, all of the ways we like subtly hurt one another. But that's exactly how I thought about it. And it's like a dangerous mindset.
But did you date? Did you continue trying to date? Pursuing? No? Okay. That's a huge part, because
I was the worst. Yeah.
Because if you had continued that, I think that would have been part of the battle. She would have continued feeling pursued. I'm not putting it on you. I just want to.
You should. It's true. I promise. You're not doing it. I'm volunteering it. It's absolutely what happened.
I just want to tell people, guys, if you're like, I'll just continue dating her, do that, But again, Matt has a good example of lived values compared to stated values. I think it's going to be a dating relationship, stating values. Yeah. I can continue that, stating values, but lived values, it's like life will chew you up and spit you out and say, no, I'm going to demand your time. You don't have time for a date this weekend. Mm-hmm. So we have to be intentional about that, versus, she's in the bag, check,
Mm-hmm.
Moving on.
Intentional is such a good word. And I want to toss in one little aside that's going to sound like defensiveness, but I don't want it to, because a vulnerable communication would have solved this problem. But there was always this perceived lack of financial resources, given our youth and our professions, and that neither of us came from wealth. We came from lower to reg middle class families, and we were fine-ish, but there was always this idea that if we're going to go do the things that she and I both like to do together, it requires resources that will not allow us to live in the place we want to live in or pay these bills or whatever. And I know that's, again, tangential to what we talked about a little bit, but that was a big part of the I'm 24, 25, 26 experience of shortchanging my wife in our relationship. Was that belief.
One of the most impactful memories I have in the last 24 years. The food chain is now out of business, but we managed to scrape together like $10. And we went down and it was me and Lori and our daughter. And we were like giggling as we were eating this lower quality drive-through fast food meal. But it was just a happy moment because we were like, hey, we have an extra like 10 or $12. Let's go down there. And I think we split an order of fries. There was like one drink between the three of us. And yeah, so the financial limitation, I totally understand. And it's free to walk in the park most of the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's free to you know, if your apartment has a common area or your house has like there's someplace you can sit outside, go grab something and sit outside and just look at the stars, or, you know, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's free.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes now changing the conversation. Will this only work in the context of having the 3-star meal experience, or the $25 bottle of wine or whatever, versus I want to have an experience. And if our first kayak was like $100, it was not expensive. So, and again, I understand $100 could be a lot for people, but you can create these experiences.
I am glad you brought up the finances part, because that was one of the notes I had. I brought up the whales and the tall trees. That was one of our more expensive trips. But I also remember around that time sitting out on an unfinished deck. We had gotten like $7 worth of new cheeses. Cheeses we had never tried before. We have this place locally that a guy is great. Like, what do you like? What are you going to be eating with it? And he'll pair it really well. So it was like $7 worth of cheeses, just little tiny blocks of cheese, and just sitting out on the back, this unfinished deck. That was like, that ranks up there with the tall trees and the whales. And I remember telling Jay, I think I even said it within the last couple of months. I was like, remember when we used to have to scrape together $10 to go to that one burger joint? Those were some good times, because it was going back to that intentionality. We are going to make this happen, and it doesn't have to be expensive, and we're going to enjoy the fire out of it, So it can be all over the map. Just like Jay said, go out and look at go out and look at the stars. One of the sweetest things he does for me. I love the fall, my favorite time of year. And he'll go out running, and then he'll go, I have somewhere I want to take you later. And he'll go and show me this amazing tree that's in full color. It's not expensive, but it blesses me because he thought about me, and we have that, shared experience and that sort of thing. So it doesn't have to be expensive. It even doesn't have to take up a whole lot of time. Like I said before, it's just these little touches every day that let the person know, like, I still see you. I still am pursuing you. I still want this with you. I'm still for you. I'm still making sure you're okay. And if you're not, how can I help? It doesn't take much.
Thanks for joining us. On the next video, we will be discussing how to rebuild trust, especially if the guy feels attacked.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.